The chandeliers inside the Grand Bellagio ballroom burned like frozen fire, casting shadows across a sea of diamonds and designer gowns. Serena Vale stood beneath the spotlight, microphone trembling in her hand, watching the man she loved announce his engagement to another woman. The same man who kissed her goodbye 12 hours earlier. The same man who convinced her to mortgage her father's house for $62,000 2 weeks ago. And now, standing before the most dangerous crime families on the East Coast, Serena held evidence that could destroy him completely. She had one choice: walk away silently and lose everything, or speak the truth and start a war she might not survive. If you want to see how this story ends, stay until the final moment. And please, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Was 2 months before the ballroom, Serena Vale believed she understood loneliness. Her father died owing the world more kindness than it ever returned. Cancer took him slowly over 18 months, draining their savings, their hope, and finally his last breath inside a hospital room that smelled like disinfectant and failure. When the funeral ended, Serena inherited a mortgage, a younger sister barely holding herself together, and a singing voice nobody paid enough to hear. The bills arrived weekly: red envelopes, final notices, threats wrapped in corporate letterhead. Serena worked 3 gigs weekly: hotel lounges, wedding receptions, private corporate events where drunk executives requested Sinatra covers while their wives pretended not to notice. She smiled through every performance, hit every note perfectly, collected checks that covered groceries but never quite reached the mortgage payment. Lily, her 16-year-old sister, tried helping by working weekend shifts at a coffee shop near their neighborhood. But the math never changed. 2 incomes barely keeping one household alive. Then Serena met Lucien Moretti. He walked into the Rosewood Hotel lounge on a Thursday night wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Dark hair swept back, sharp jawline, eyes that moved across the room like a predator cataloging exits. Serena was halfway through The Way You Look Tonight when their eyes met. He didn't smile. He just watched. Most men in expensive suits ignored lounge singers entirely. Background noise, ambient decoration. But Lucien studied her like she mattered. When her set ended, he was waiting near the bar. "You sing like someone who understands loss," he said quietly. No pickup line, no compliment about her dress, just truth delivered with surgical precision. Serena should have walked away right then, but grief makes people desperate for connection. "My father died 6 months ago," she heard herself say. Lucien nodded slowly. "Mine disappeared when I was 12. Different kind of death." They talked for 2 hours. Lucien never once mentioned what he did for work, never name-dropped, never flashed money. He asked about her father's favorite songs, about Lily's college plans, about the weight of carrying a family alone. He listened like listening was a skill he'd perfected. By the time Serena left that night, she had Lucien's number saved in her phone and a strange hollow ache in her chest that felt dangerously close to hope. 3 days later, he texted, "Dinner tomorrow? Somewhere quiet. No performances required." She said yes. Their first real date happened at a small Italian restaurant in Brooklyn, where the owner knew Lucien by name and served them wine that never appeared on any menu. The meal lasted 4 hours. Lucien told stories about growing up in Philadelphia, about learning business from men who valued loyalty over law, about building something legitimate from a family legacy soaked in blood. "I'm not proud of where I came from," Lucien said carefully, "but I'm trying to be someone different." Serena believed him, because he spoke about redemption the way she felt about music, like it was the only thing keeping him human. They started seeing each other 3 nights weekly. Lucien never rushed anything, never pushed, never made Serena feel like she owed him anything beyond her time. He showed up to her performances unannounced, sitting in the back row, applauding softly when she finished. He brought Lily books about architecture when he learned she wanted to study design. He fixed the broken porch step at their house without being asked. He made survival feel less lonely. 6 weeks into their relationship, Lucien took Serena to the waterfront at midnight. The city skyline glowed across the river while they sat on the hood of his car sharing takeout Chinese food. "Tell me something you've never told anyone," Lucien said. Serena hesitated. Then she admitted the truth she'd been carrying alone for months. "I'm going to lose my father's house." Lucien turned toward her slowly. "The mortgage?" 3 months behind. The bank sent final notice last week. Serena's voice cracked despite her best effort to sound strong. Lily doesn't know yet. I keep telling her everything's fine, but I'm running out of time and options, and I don't know how to fix this without destroying the only home we have left. Lucian reached over and took her hand. His grip was warm, steady, certain. How much do you need? It doesn't matter, Serena said quickly. I'm not asking you for money. I didn't ask if you were asking. I asked how much you need. Lucien? Serena. His voice dropped lower, quieter. How much? She exhaled slowly. 18,000 to catch up. Maybe 22 to stay ahead for a few months. Lucian nodded once. Consider it handled. Serena pulled her hand back. No, absolutely not. I can't take money from you. You're not taking anything. I'm offering. That's tens of thousands of dollars. I have tens of thousands of dollars. Lucien, we've known each other 6 weeks. And in 6 weeks you've made me feel more human than I've felt in years. Lucien's expression softened. Let me help you, please. Serena wanted to say no. She wanted to be strong enough to refuse, but desperation has a way of rewriting moral boundaries. I'll pay you back, she whispered. Every cent, with interest. Lucien smiled faintly. I don't want your money, Serena. I want your trust. 2 days later, $22,000 appeared in Serena's bank account. The mortgage company confirmed receipt. The final notices stopped, and for the first time since her father died, Serena could breathe without calculating how many days remained until eviction. Lily cried when Serena told her the house was safe. How did you manage it? Lily asked through tears. Extra gigs, Serena lied. Good gigs, private events. Lily believed her immediately, because that's what people do when they desperately need something to be true. Lucian never mentioned the money again. He showed up to Serena's performances, took her to late dinners, kissed her like she mattered, made her believe the worst was finally over. 3 weeks later, Lucian proposed. It happened inside Serena's small kitchen on a random Tuesday night. No elaborate plan, no grand gesture. Just Lucian kneeling beside the table with a pearl ring. Not a diamond because he remembered she preferred quiet beauty. And a question that felt inevitable. I know this is fast, Lucian said. I know we haven't known each other long, but I've spent my entire life around people who lie, manipulate, and destroy each other for power. And you're the first person who's ever made me want to be better. Serena's hand shook. Lucien, I'm not asking you to fix me. I'm asking you to let me build something real with you. Something that isn't about survival or strategy or fear. He opened the small box. The pearl caught the kitchen light. Marry me, Serena. She said yes before her brain could overrule her heart. They held each other in that small kitchen while the refrigerator hummed and the outside world disappeared entirely. Serena believed she was marrying safety, stability, love. She had no idea she was signing a contract with a man who'd been playing a long game since the moment he walked into that hotel lounge. 2 weeks after the engagement, Lucien introduced the investment opportunity. They were having dinner at his penthouse, a sleek modern apartment overlooking the city that Serena assumed he owned outright. Lucien poured wine and explained the deal with terrifying calm. I have a business contact in overseas shipping and construction, Lucien said. Legitimate operations, government contracts. The profit margins are significant. Serena listened while cutting her steak. There's a temporary liquidity gap, Lucien continued. They need bridge capital to secure a contract that's already guaranteed. Once it closes, investors see returns between 40 and 60% within 90 days. That sounds illegal, Serena said carefully. It's not. It's just opportunistic. Lucien leaned forward. I'm putting in 80,000 myself, but if we could add another 60 or 70, our combined return would set us up permanently. Serena set her fork down. Lucien, I don't have $60,000. No, but your house is worth $340,000. You could take a second mortgage, $62,000 for the investment, leaves room for fees. Serena's stomach dropped. You want me to mortgage my father's house? Temporarily, 90 days maximum. What if something goes wrong? Nothing will go wrong. Lucien reached across the table and took her hand. I've already verified the contract details. The company has a 15-year track record. This isn't speculation, Serena. It's a guaranteed return. Then why don't you just take out the full amount yourself? Lucien smiled faintly. Because my assets are tied up in other ventures, and because I want us to build this together, shared risk, shared reward. Serena pulled her hand back slowly. This feels dangerous. Life is dangerous. Poverty is dangerous. Working 3 gigs weekly and barely surviving is dangerous. Lucien's voice stayed calm, patient. I'm offering you a way out. By gambling my father's house? By investing in our future. Serena stood up and walked toward the window. The city glowed below. Thousands of lights, millions of people, all of them fighting for survival. What happens if the deal falls through? She asked quietly. It won't. But if it does? Lucien stood and moved behind her. He wrapped his arms around her waist gently. Then I'll cover the mortgage myself. Your house will never be at risk, I promise. Serena closed her eyes. She wanted to believe him, needed to believe him. 90 days? She whispered. 90 days. And you'll guarantee the house stays safe. I guarantee it. Serena exhaled slowly. Okay. Lucien kissed the side of her neck softly. You just changed our lives forever. The paperwork moved fast. Lucien connected Serena with a mortgage broker who specialized in quick approvals. The application went through in 72 hours. The appraisal happened remotely. The closing took place via electronic signature. $62,000 appeared in Serena's account. She transferred it immediately to the investment account Lucien provided. Then she waited. Lucien reassured her constantly, texted updates, sent articles about the construction company, made everything feel legitimate. But 2 weeks after the transfer, Lucien's communication pattern changed. He started canceling dinners, missing her performances, responding to texts hours late with vague explanations about family business and unexpected complications. Serena told herself it was temporary, told herself successful men had demanding schedules, told herself everything was fine. Then Lily showed her the article. It was a small piece buried in the society section of a regional newspaper, a photo from a charity gala 3 nights earlier. Lucien Moretti standing beside a stunning woman in a designer gown. The caption identified her as Isabella De Luca, daughter of Vittorio De Luca, prominent businessman and philanthropist. Prominent businessman. That's what newspapers called mafia bosses when they couldn't prove anything in court. Who is she? Lily asked carefully. A business associate, Serena said automatically, but her hands were shaking. Lily noticed immediately. Serena, it's nothing, just work, networking. He's wearing a tuxedo and she's holding his arm. Lily, stop. You gave him money, didn't you? Serena's blood turned cold. What? The house, the mortgage? You said it was extra gigs, but you've been working the same 3 venues for months. Lily's voice cracked. You gave him money. It's an investment. Serena, who is he? He's my fiancé. Then why is he at a gala with another woman? Serena couldn't answer. She stared at the photo while her world quietly disassembled. That night, she called Lucien 17 times. Every call went to voicemail. Every text went unanswered. At 2 a.m, her phone finally buzzed. Dealing with family emergency. We'll explain everything soon. I love you. Serena wanted to believe him. Tried to believe him, but the knot in her stomach kept tightening. 3 days later, the envelope arrived. Heavy cardstock. Embossed gold lettering. An invitation to the engagement celebration of Lucien Moretti and Isabella De Luca at the Grand Bellagio ballroom. Serena read it 4 times before her brain accepted the words. Lily found her sitting on the kitchen floor holding the invitation. I'm so sorry, Lily whispered. Serena didn't cry. Couldn't cry. The grief was too big for tears. I mortgaged Dad's house, she said flatly. I know. For a man who was lying the entire time. I know. We're going to lose everything. Lily sat down beside her. Maybe not. Serena finally looked up. What? You're performing at the Bellagio next week. Corporate event. You told me last month. So? So that's the same ballroom, same night. Lily's expression hardened. You're going to be standing on that stage while he announces his engagement to another woman. Serena's pulse accelerated. Lily, no, you have proof. Bank records, text messages, the mortgage paperwork. These are dangerous people, and he's a liar who stole from us. If I expose him in front of the DeLuca family, then maybe you get justice." Serena shook her head slowly. "Or maybe I get killed. Or maybe," Lily said quietly, "you finally stop letting powerful men decide your worth." The words landed like a physical blow. Serena sat in silence while her sister's challenge hung between them. She thought about her father, about the house he built with his own hands, about the years he spent teaching her that survival wasn't the same as living. Then she stood up. "I need to make some calls." The Grand Bellagio ballroom glittered like a cathedral built for sinners. Serena arrived 3 hours early for sound check, carrying her performance bag and a folder containing every piece of evidence she'd compiled over the past 72 hours. Bank statements, text message screenshots, mortgage documents, recordings of phone conversations where Lucienne promised her future while constructing hers. The event coordinator barely glanced at her. "You're the lounge singer, right? 2 sets, 30 minutes each. Stay near the stage. Don't wander." Serena nodded. She set up her music stand, tested the microphone, watched the ballroom transform as staff arranged centerpieces and lighting. By 7 p.m., the guests started arriving. Expensive cars, private security, men in tuxedos who moved like violence wrapped in silk. Serena recognized faces from news articles. Crime bosses, politicians, businessmen whose fortunes were built on fear. The DeLuca family occupied the center tables like royalty holding court. And then Lucien arrived. He descended the grand staircase with Isabella on his arm, both of them radiating the kind of confidence that comes from never doubting your place in the world. Serena's entire body went numb. He looked happy, genuinely happy, like the past 3 months with her had never existed. The orchestra began playing. Serena stepped onto the stage. Her hand shook while adjusting the microphone. She started with Unforgettable because the irony felt appropriate. Lucien never once looked toward the stage. He was too busy accepting congratulations, shaking hands, playing the role of the man who'd won the ultimate prize, entry into the DeLuca empire through marriage. Serena finished the first set. Nobody applauded. Nobody noticed. She was background music, decoration, invisible. During the break, she watched Vittorio DeLuca stand and raise his glass for a toast. His voice carried across the ballroom with the weight of absolute authority. "Tonight we celebrate not just an engagement, but the joining of 2 families. Lucien has proven himself worthy of my daughter's trust and our organization's respect." The room erupted in applause. Isabella kissed Lucien's cheek, and Serena finally understood the full scope of his game. He hadn't just stolen her money. He'd used her as a stepping stone toward something far more valuable: power, legitimacy, and access to one of the most feared criminal empires on the East Coast. She was collateral damage in a war she didn't even know existed. The event coordinator tapped her shoulder. "Second set, 5 minutes." Serena walked back toward the stage, her heart hammered against her ribs. This was insane. Suicidal. These people destroyed lives before breakfast. But her father's voice echoed in her memory. Sometimes the only way out is through. Serena picked up the microphone. The ballroom gradually quieted. She took one long breath. Then she detonated Lucien's entire world. "Before I begin the second set," Serena said clearly, "I need to share something with everyone here tonight." The room went silent. Lucien's head snapped toward the stage. Their eyes met across the ballroom. Recognition flashed across his face. Then calculation. Cold, fast, ruthless. "The man standing beside Isabella DeLuca," Serena continued, her voice steady despite the terror flooding her system, "proposed to me 2 months ago." The silence became absolute. "He convinced me to mortgage my family home for $62,000. He said it was for an investment opportunity that would secure our future together." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Serena reached into her performance bag. "There was no investment." She pulled out printed bank statements. "My money paid for the lifestyle he used to enter this family." She held up text message screenshots. "Every promise he made to me was a lie designed to fund his real ambition." Isabella DeLuca slowly turned toward Lucien. Her expression didn't change, but something deadly flickered behind her eyes. Serena's voice never wavered. "I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because 3 days ago, another singer was supposed to perform tonight. She got into a car accident. The venue called me as a replacement." She paused. "And I realized something." The entire ballroom waited. If I stayed silent, I'd lose everything while he gained everything. And I decided I'd rather tell the truth and face the consequences than live knowing I helped a liar build an empire. Serena set the microphone down gently. Then she walked off the stage. The ballroom erupted. Not with violence, with something far more dangerous. Whispered phone calls. Urgent conversations. The machinery of power reassessing everything. Vittorio De Luca stood slowly. His expression revealed nothing. But when he looked at Lucien, the room understood immediately. This wasn't just embarrassment. This was betrayal. And in their world, betrayal was unforgivable. Lucien tried speaking, tried controlling the narrative, but phones were already recording. Social media was already spreading the story. And the most powerful crime families on the East Coast were already distancing themselves. Serena reached the exit before security blocked her path. "Miss Vale," a calm voice said behind her. "Mr. De Luca would like a word." Serena's legs locked. The security guard wasn't threatening her. His voice stayed professional, almost courteous, but the weight of those words crushed her lungs anyway. Mr. De Luca would like a word. Behind her, the ballroom churned with barely contained chaos. Phones glowing, voices rising, the kind of panic that powerful people experience when their carefully constructed realities crack open. Serena turned slowly. Vittorio De Luca stood near the center platform, watching her with the patience of a man who'd spent decades learning that real power never rushes. He gestured toward a side door. Not a request. A command wrapped in civility. Serena's hands were shaking so badly she had to clench them into fists. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but running from men like Vittorio De Luca was how people disappeared permanently. She walked toward him. The crowd parted automatically. Nobody spoke. Nobody even breathed too loud. Serena passed within 3 feet of Lucien. He stood frozen beside Isabella, his face drained of color, his perfect composure finally shattered. Their eyes met for half a second. He mouthed something. She couldn't tell if it was, "I'm sorry," or "You're dead." Maybe both. Vittorio held the side door open himself. The hallway beyond was empty. Marble floors, soft lighting, the kind of space designed for private conversations that never made it into official records. 2 men in dark suits followed them inside. The door closed with a sound like a coffin sealing. Vittorio walked slowly toward a sitting area near a window overlooking the city. He moved like a man whose joints hurt, but whose mind stayed sharp enough to compensate. "Sit," he said quietly. Serena sat. Her entire body felt disconnected from her brain. Vittorio settled into the chair across from her with a soft exhale. He studied her face for a long moment. Not hostile, just assessing. "You have remarkable courage," he said finally. "Or remarkable stupidity. I haven't decided which." Serena's voice came out smaller than she intended. "I didn't plan this." "No?" Vittorio's eyebrows lifted slightly. "You brought evidence, printed documents, recordings. You rehearsed that speech." "I didn't know if I'd actually do it until I picked up the microphone." "But you did it anyway." "Yes." "Why?" Serena met his eyes directly. "Because he stole everything from me. And I couldn't let him walk into your family carrying that lie." Vittorio leaned back slowly. "You understand what you just did? I exposed a con man. You humiliated my daughter in front of every significant family on the East Coast." His voice stayed calm, conversational, which made it more terrifying. "You turned her engagement party into a public spectacle." Serena's throat tightened. "I didn't mean—" "What you meant is irrelevant. What matters is consequence." Vittorio folded his hands. "Isabella's reputation just became a liability. Our family's judgment is now questioned, and Lucien Moretti, the man we welcomed, investigated, and approved, is revealed as a fraud we failed to detect." "Then you should be thanking me." The words left Serena's mouth before her brain could stop them. The room temperature dropped 20 degrees. One of the guards shifted slightly. Vittorio's expression didn't change, but something dangerous flickered behind his eyes. "Explain that logic," he said softly. Serena forced herself to breathe normally. "If I hadn't spoken tonight, Lucien would have married Isabella. Then he would have had access to everything, your finances, your operations, your vulnerabilities. She leaned forward slightly. How long before he used that access against you? Vittorio stayed silent. I saved you from a much bigger problem, Serena continued. You're angry because I embarrassed your family, but you would have been destroyed if he'd gotten what he actually wanted. The silence stretched impossibly long. Then Vittorio smiled. It was the most unsettling thing Serena had ever seen. You're right, he said simply. Serena blinked. What? You're absolutely right. Lucian played us. He studied our organization, targeted my daughter, and constructed an elaborate lie that we accepted because it was packaged correctly. Vittorio's smile faded. Which means my family's security protocols failed. Our intelligence network failed. And I failed. He stood slowly. That doesn't make me grateful, Miss Vale. It makes me furious. Serena stood as well, fighting the urge to back toward the door. So what happens now? Now? Vittorio walked toward the window. Now we determine how deep this goes. How many other families Lucian has connections to. How much damage he can still cause. And what we do with you. With me? You have evidence, documentation, recordings. Vittorio turned to face her. You're a witness, which means you're valuable. Or dangerous, depending on your next choices. Serena's pulse hammered in her ears. I just want my father's house back. I'm sure you do, but life rarely cares what we want. Vittorio gestured toward one of his men. Marco will take you to a secure location. You'll stay there while we sort through this situation. Wait, this isn't negotiable. You can't just kidnap me. I'm protecting you. Lucien has associates, allies, people who will be very interested in silencing the woman who destroyed his ambitions. Vittorio's voice stayed maddeningly calm. You're safer with us than alone. For how long? Until I decide otherwise. Marco moved toward Serena. She considered fighting, considered screaming. But what would that accomplish? She was already inside the DeLuca Empire's machinery. Resistance would just make everything worse. My sister, Serena said quickly. Lily, she's 16. She's home alone. Vittorio nodded once. We'll have someone watch your house. Make sure she's safe. I want to call her, but not yet. No communication until we understand the full situation. He paused. Trust me, Miss Vale. This is the only reason you're still breathing. Marco touched Serena's elbow gently. She let him guide her toward a service exit. The last thing she saw before the door closed was Vittorio pulling out his phone, already making the calls that would dismantle Lucian's life piece by piece. Whack. The secure location was a brownstone in Brooklyn that looked completely ordinary from the outside, but felt like a gilded prison inside. Expensive furniture, armed guards rotating shifts every 6 hours. No phone, no internet, no contact with the outside world. Serena spent the first night sitting on the edge of an unfamiliar bed, staring at walls decorated with abstract art that cost more than her yearly income, trying to process the fact that she'd destroyed a man's empire and potentially signed her own death warrant in the process. Morning arrived with breakfast delivered by a woman in her 50s who introduced herself as Rosa. Mr. DeLuca wanted to make sure you're comfortable, Rosa said, setting down a tray with coffee, eggs, toast, fresh fruit. I'm being held prisoner, Serena said flatly. You're being protected. Rosa's tone stayed neutral, professional. There's a difference. Is there? You're alive. That's the difference. Rosa left before Serena could respond. The hours crawled past. Serena tried the doors, locked from the outside. Tried the windows, reinforced somehow, and 2 stories up. Tried reasoning with the guards. They ignored her completely. By the second day, the isolation started eating through her sanity. She had no idea what was happening to Lily. No idea if Lucien had vanished or retaliated. No idea if the mortgage was being called or if her house was already lost. On the 3rd morning, Vittorio arrived. He walked into the brownstone like he owned it, which he probably did, and settled into the living room chair across from where Serena sat curled on the couch. You look terrible, he observed. You're holding me hostage. I'm keeping you alive. There's been 2 attempts on your whereabouts already. Serena's blood went cold. What? Lucien's associates. They want to find you before you can testify or provide more evidence. Vittorio crossed his legs slowly. One of them tried bribing a hotel employee who worked the ballroom that night. Another one approached your sister's coffee shop. Serena shot to her feet. Is Lily okay? She's fine. We moved her to a different location. She doesn't know where you are, and you don't know where she is. That's intentional. You can't just separate us. I can. And I did. Because keeping you both alive requires controlling information. Vittorio's expression never changed. Sit down, Miss Vale. Serena sat. Her hands were shaking again. When can I see her? When it's safe. When will that be? When Lucien is no longer a threat. Where is he? Vittorio smiled faintly. That's the interesting part. He disappeared. Serena blinked. What? 30 minutes after your revelation, Lucien left the ballroom. We tracked him to his penthouse. He grabbed one bag and vanished. No credit card activity, no phone signals, no border crossings that we can verify. Vittorio leaned forward slightly. He's either very good at running or someone helped him disappear. Who would help him? That's what I'm trying to determine. He pulled a tablet from his coat and set it on the coffee table. I need you to look at something. Serena picked up the tablet. The screen showed surveillance footage from multiple locations, banks, restaurants, hotels, all featuring Lucien at various times over the past 6 months. We pulled his movements going back a year, Vittorio explained. What we found is disturbing. The footage continued. Lucien meeting with men in expensive suits. Lucien entering buildings owned by shell corporations. Lucien attending events across multiple cities. He wasn't just running a con on you, Vittorio said quietly. He was running several cons simultaneously. Different women, different families, different amounts. Serena felt sick. How many? We've identified 5 so far. All of them similar patterns: romance, trust, investment opportunities, money transfers. And they all lost everything. Yes. Vittorio's voice hardened. Lucien Moretti is a professional. This is what he does. You weren't unlucky. You were targeted. Serena set the tablet down. Her hands were numb. Why me? Your father's house, clean title, equity value, easy to mortgage. Vittorio paused. And you're a performer, used to presenting emotions, which meant you'd be effective at selling Lucien's legitimacy to other people. I don't understand. Think about it. You're engaged to Lucien. You attend events with him. You talk about your future together. Everyone sees a woman in love. Vittorio's eyes narrowed. You became part of his disguise. Your authenticity made his lies believable. The realization hit Serena like a physical blow. She wasn't just a victim. She was a tool, a prop in Lucien's performance. I need to see my sister, Serena whispered. Soon. Now. Not yet. She's 16 years old and terrified, and alive, which is more than the last woman who exposed Lucien can say. Serena froze. What? Vittorio stood slowly. 2 years ago, different city, woman named Claire Hutchinson. She went to the police with evidence that Lucien had defrauded her family's medical practice. He walked toward the window. She died in a car accident 3 weeks later, single vehicle, lost control on a curved road. Investigators ruled it accidental. You think Lucien killed her? I think Lucien is very good at making problems disappear. Vittorio turned back toward Serena. Which is why you're staying here until I know he can't reach you. How long? As long as necessary. That's not an answer, but it's the only answer you're getting. Vittorio walked toward the door. Wait, Serena called. What about Isabella? Vittorio stopped, his shoulders tensed. What about her? Is she okay? The silence stretched impossibly long. Then Vittorio spoke without turning around. My daughter just had her heart broken, and her judgment questioned in front of the most dangerous people on the East Coast. She's humiliated, furious, and determined to prove she's stronger than this. His voice dropped lower. No, she's not okay. He left without another word. Serena sat alone in the expensive prison, staring at the tablet still showing Lucien's face across multiple screens. Different locations, different women, same smile, same lies. She wondered how many other lives he'd destroyed, how many other families lost everything. How many other women sat in rooms like this, realizing they'd been nothing more than collateral damage? What? On the fifth day, Isabella DeLuca walked into the brownstone. Serena was eating lunch when she heard the front door open. Footsteps. Low voices. Then Isabella appeared in the dining room doorway wearing jeans, a black sweater, and an expression that could have frozen fire. Rosa vanished immediately. The guard stepped back. Isabella and Serena faced each other across expensive furniture and thicker tension. "You destroyed my engagement party," Isabella said finally. Her voice was calm. Too calm. Serena set down her fork slowly. "I'm sorry." "Are you?" "I'm sorry you got hurt. I'm not sorry I told the truth." Isabella walked further into the room. She moved like her father, controlled, deliberate, dangerous. "You could have come to me privately, before the party, given me the evidence quietly. Would you have believed me? Probably not. Then what would have changed?" Isabella smiled without warmth. "I would have had time to prepare, to control the narrative, to handle this situation without public humiliation. Your father said you're angry. My father doesn't know the half of it." Isabella pulled out a chair and sat down across from Serena. "I'm not angry about Lucien. He's garbage. I'll process that later. I'm angry because you made me look weak. That wasn't my intention. Oh, I don't care about your intentions. I care about consequences." Isabella leaned forward. "Do you know what happens when a woman in my position shows weakness? When people think her judgment is compromised?" Serena shook her head. "Everything she's built collapses. Every decision gets questioned. Every move gets scrutinized." Isabella's eyes burned. "My father runs the organization, but I've been managing operations for 3 years. Contracts, negotiations, alliances. I earned respect through competence, and you destroyed that in 90 seconds. Then blame Lucien." "I blame both of you." Isabella's voice cracked slightly. "Him for lying, you for believing you had the right to expose it publicly instead of letting me handle it privately." Serena felt anger rising through her fear. "Handle it privately? Like sweep it under expensive rugs while I lose my father's house? I would have compensated you. I don't want compensation. I want justice." "Justice?" Isabella laughed bitterly. "You think what you did was justice? You started a war. Lucien started a war, and you escalated it." Isabella stood abruptly. "Half the families at that party now think the DeLucas are weak, easily fooled, vulnerable. They're testing boundaries, pushing limits. 2 of our associates have already backed out of agreements because they think we can't protect our interests." Serena stood as well. "That's not my fault. Everything that happened after you picked up that microphone is your fault." Isabella's voice rose slightly. "You wanted to hurt Lucien. Fine. But you hurt me too. You hurt my family. And now we're all dealing with consequences you didn't bother thinking through. What was I supposed to do? Let him marry you? Let him gain access to everything?" "Yes!" The word exploded through the room. Isabella's composure finally shattered. "Yes, you should have let him marry me, because I would have figured it out eventually. And when I did, I would have handled it the right way. Quietly, permanently, without public spectacle." "You mean you would have killed him?" Isabella's expression went completely blank. "I mean, I would have protected my family's reputation while solving the problem. There's a difference." Serena's pulse hammered. "I'm not a killer. No, you're just someone who destroyed lives without considering collateral damage." Isabella walked toward the door. "My father thinks you're brave. I think you're reckless and stupid and dangerous. Then why am I still alive?" Isabella stopped in the doorway. She looked back over her shoulder. "Because you're useful. For now." Her voice dropped to something colder. "But usefulness expires." She left. Serena stood shaking in the expensive dining room, finally understanding the true scope of what she'd done. She hadn't just exposed Lucien. She'd declared war on an empire that protected itself through violence, and she was trapped inside it. That night, Serena couldn't sleep. She lay in the unfamiliar bed staring at ceiling shadows while her mind replayed every decision that led to this moment. Meeting Lucien, trusting him, loving him, believing his lies, mortgaging her father's house, standing on that stage, picking up the microphone. Every choice felt inevitable at the time. Now they all felt like mistakes. Around 3 a.m., she heard voices downstairs. Quiet, urgent. She pressed her ear against the door. Confirmed sighting in Philadelphia. Can't be sure it's him. Matches the description. Lucien. They were talking about Lucien. Serena's heart rate spiked. More voices. Footsteps. Then silence. She waited 30 minutes before trying the door handle. Locked. Always locked. But the voices continued somewhere below. Serena pressed against the door again, straining to hear. Claire Hutchinson wasn't an accident. We suspected but couldn't prove. Same MO as the Vale situation. If he's cleaning up loose ends. The sentence cut off abruptly. Serena backed away from the door. Her entire body felt frozen. Claire Hutchinson wasn't an accident. Lucien killed her. He killed the last woman who exposed him. And now Serena had done the same thing. She was next. She had to be next. Panic flooded her system. She moved toward the window and looked down at the street below. 2 stories. Maybe 3. A fall that would break bones, but maybe not kill. If she could get the window open. If she could climb down somehow. If she could reach Lily and disappear before... The door unlocked behind her. Serena spun around. Vittorio stood in the doorway. You heard, he said quietly. Not a question. Serena couldn't speak. Claire Hutchinson is why you're here, why you're protected, why I'm not letting you leave. Vittorio walked into the room slowly. Lucien has a pattern. He runs cons, gets exposed, then eliminates the exposure. How many? We've found evidence of 3, possibly 5. Women who testified or threatened to testify against him. Vittorio's expression hardened. All dead within 6 months. All ruled accidental or inconclusive. Serena's legs gave out. She sat on the edge of the bed. He's going to kill me. Not if I kill him first? The words came out matter of fact, casual, like discussing weather. You're... what? I'm hunting him, actively, with resources you can't imagine. Vittorio sat in the chair near the window. Lucien made a fatal mistake. He didn't just con random women. He targeted my daughter. That makes this personal. What if you don't find him? We'll find him. What if he finds me first? He won't, because you're going to help us. Serena looked up sharply. How? Vittorio pulled out his phone and opened a voice recording app. You're going to call him. What? Lucien left burner phones behind. We recovered one from his penthouse. It's still active. Vittorio set the phone on the bed between them. You're going to call that number, leave a message, tell him you want to meet, that you're scared, that you made a mistake at the ballroom, that you want to help him fix this. He'll never believe me. He'll want to believe you, because right now, you're his biggest threat. If he thinks you'll recant your testimony, meet him somewhere isolated, give him a chance to silence you permanently. Vittorio's eyes gleamed. He'll take the bait. Serena's stomach turned. You want me to be bait. I want you to help us end this. By letting a serial killer think I'm vulnerable? By helping us trap a serial killer before he hurts anyone else? Serena shook her head violently. No, absolutely not. It's not optional. You can't make me... I can. And I will. Vittorio's voice dropped to something brutal. You involved yourself in this situation. You exposed Lucien publicly instead of letting professionals handle it privately. Now you're going to help finish what you started. I'll refuse, then I'll send you home. Tonight. Right now. And when Lucien finds you, and he will find you, you'll die exactly like Claire Hutchinson died. Vittorio stood slowly. Or you can work with us. Help us catch him, and maybe, survive this. The silence felt suffocating. Serena stared at the phone lying on the bed like a loaded weapon. When? She whispered. Tomorrow, we'll script the message. Rehearse it. Make it convincing. Vittorio walked toward the door. Get some rest. You're going to need it. He left. The lock clicked, and Serena sat alone in the expensive prison, finally understanding that she'd never had any control. Not with Lucien. Not with the DeLucas. She was a piece on a board controlled by people who valued strategy over humanity, and the game was just beginning. Uścieżki. Morning arrived with Rosa delivering breakfast and a printed script. 3 paragraphs, carefully worded, designed to sound desperate without seeming suspicious. Serena read it 4 times while her coffee went cold. "Mr. DeLuca will be here in an hour," Rosa said. "He wants to rehearse before you make the call." "What if Lucien doesn't answer?" "Then you leave a voicemail." "What if he doesn't call back?" Rosa's expression softened slightly. "Then at least you tried." She left. Serena stared at the script. "Lucien, it's me." "Serena, I know you're probably furious, but I need to talk to you. I made a terrible mistake at the ballroom. I was hurt and angry, and I didn't think about consequences. The DeLucas are holding me. They want information, but I don't want to testify against you. I just want this to end. Please, call me back. We can fix this together." The words tasted like poison, but they were believable. That's what made them so dangerous. Vittorio arrived exactly 1 hour later with 2 men carrying recording equipment. They set up microphones, signal tracers, backup devices. "We'll record everything," Vittorio explained. "If he responds, we'll trace the call. If he agrees to meet, we'll wire you. If he tries anything, you'll what? Shoot him?" "If necessary." Serena's hands shook. "This is insane. This is survival." Vittorio handed her the phone. "Read the script, naturally, like you mean it." Serena took the phone. Her fingers felt numb. She dialed the number Vittorio provided. It rang once, twice, 3 times, then voicemail. "You've reached a number that's no longer in service." "Wrong number." Vittorio's expression darkened. "He changed phones. Try this one." He gave her a different number. Serena dialed again. This time it rang 6 times before voicemail. No greeting, just a beep. Serena inhaled slowly. Then she read the script. Her voice shook authentically because genuine terror made acting unnecessary. She finished, ended the call, set the phone down. "Now what?" she whispered. "Now we wait." They waited 6 hours. No response. No callback. Nothing. Vittorio grew increasingly agitated as the afternoon stretched into evening. "He should have responded by now," he muttered, pacing the living room. Even if he suspected a trap, he would have responded. "Maybe he's gone," Serena suggested. "Left the country. Disappeared permanently." "Men like Lucien don't disappear. They retaliate." The phone rang. Everyone froze. Unknown number. Vittorio gestured frantically. Serena answered on speaker. "Hello?" Silence. Then a voice. Not Lucian's. Female. "Is this Serena Vale?" "Yes." "Who is this?" "Someone who knows what Lucien did to you, and to me, and to at least 7 other women." Serena's pulse spiked. "Who are you?" "My name is Rachel Torres. 3 years ago, Lucien Moretti conned my family out of $90,000. When I tried reporting him, I got death threats. 2 of my friends died in accidents that weren't accidents." The woman's voice cracked. "I've been tracking him ever since, and I know where he is." Vittorio leaned forward sharply. Serena's voice barely worked. "Where?" "I'll tell you. But not over the phone. And not with the DeLucas listening." Rachel paused. "Meet me tomorrow, alone. Or Lucien wins." The line went dead. The phone went dead in Serena's hand. Nobody moved. The recording equipment hummed softly in the corner while 3 men in expensive suits stared at the device like it had just detonated. Vittorio broke the silence first. "Trace it." One of his men was already typing frantically on a laptop. "Burner phone. Signal bounced through 4 towers. Triangulation puts it somewhere in Queens, but the location radius is 3 square miles. Run the voice through recognition software. Already on it." Serena set the phone down carefully, her hand still shaking from adrenaline. "Who is Rachel Torres?" Vittorio didn't answer immediately. He stood with his back to the room, staring out the window at Brooklyn streets bathed in evening light. His shoulders were rigid, tense in a way Serena hadn't seen before. "Sir?" one of his men prompted. "I heard the question." Vittorio turned slowly. His expression was unreadable. "Rachel Torres is either a legitimate victim trying to help, or she's bait designed to pull you out of protection. Which one do you think she is?" I think Lucian is very good at using women as weapons. The laptop beeped. Voice analysis complete. Female, mid-30s, East Coast accent. No criminal record under the name Rachel Torres. But there are 47 women with that name in the tri-state area alone. Vittorio cursed softly. Start running backgrounds on all of them. Focus on anyone with connections to fraud cases, missing persons reports, or accidental deaths in the past 5 years. That'll take hours. Then start now. The men scattered immediately, phones appearing, fingers flying across keyboards. Serena stood in the center of the controlled chaos, feeling completely useless. What am I supposed to do? Vittorio looked at her like he'd forgotten she existed. Nothing. You do nothing. You stay here while we verify if Rachel Torres is real or if this is Lucian trying to lure you into the open. She said to come alone, which is exactly what someone would say if they were planning to kill you. Or what someone would say if they actually needed help and didn't trust the Mafia. Vittorio's eyes narrowed dangerously. Careful, Miss Vale. Your survival depends on my protection. Insulting my methods isn't strategic. Serena bit back the response burning in her throat. She was trapped, completely and utterly trapped. If she stayed here, she was a prisoner waiting for Lucian to eventually find her. If she left, she walked directly into whatever trap was waiting. There was no good choice, just different versions of danger. I want to talk to Lily, Serena said quietly. No. Please, just 5 minutes. Absolutely not. Communication security is the only thing keeping both of you alive. Vittorio gestured toward one of his guards. Take Miss Vale back upstairs. Make sure she stays there. The guard moved forward. Serena didn't resist. What would be the point? She climbed the stairs back to her expensive prison, while men with guns decided her fate in rooms she couldn't access. Sleep was impossible. Serena lay in bed staring at ceiling shadows while her mind spun through scenarios. Rachel Torres was real and knew where Lucian was hiding. Rachel Torres was fake, and Lucian was using her voice to set a trap. Rachel Torres was real, but working with Lucian. Rachel Torres was dead, and someone else was using her identity. Every possibility led to violence. Around 2 a.m., Serena heard voices again, louder this time, urgent. She pressed her ear against the door. Confirmed 3 Rachel Torres with fraud connections. One of them died 2 years ago. Another one's in witness protection. The third one disappeared 6 months ago after reporting. The voices dropped too low to hear. Serena's heart hammered. 6 months ago, right around when Lucian started targeting Isabella. She backed away from the door and sat on the edge of the bed. Her phone, Vittorio had confiscated it days ago, but she remembered Rachel's number. The string of digits had burned into her memory the moment they appeared on screen. She needed to call back, needed to know if Rachel was real, but she had no phone, no internet, no way to communicate with the outside world, unless... Serena's eyes tracked to the window. She'd checked it a dozen times already. Locked, reinforced, 2 stories up with no fire escape. But she hadn't checked the bathroom window. She moved quickly to the attached bathroom and climbed onto the toilet to reach the small frosted window above the sink. It was narrow, barely 18 inches wide, but it opened. Cold air rushed in. Serena looked down. 1 story, maybe 12 feet. There was a dumpster directly below and a narrow alley leading to the street. Her pulse spiked with equal parts terror and desperate hope. This was insane. Suicidal. If Vittorio caught her, he'd probably lock her in a basement. If she made it out and Lucian was waiting, she'd die. But if Rachel Torres was real and could actually lead her to Lucian, then maybe, Serena could take back some control over her own life. She thought about her father, about the house he built, about Lily growing up without a sister because Serena was too scared to fight back. Then she thought about Claire Hutchinson, dead in a car accident that wasn't an accident, about 7 other women whose names she'd never know, about Lucian moving through the world destroying lives without consequence. Serena made her decision. She squeezed through the window feet first, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might crack a rib. The drop looked worse from this angle. The dumpster seemed smaller, the alley darker. She hung from the window frame, arms shaking, feet dangling above nothing. Then she let go. The impact knocked the air from her lungs. She hit the dumpster lid at an angle, metal booming like thunder, her ankle twisting as she rolled sideways. Pain exploded through her leg, but she bit down on the scream and forced herself to move. She half fell, half climbed off the dumpster and limped toward the alley entrance. No shouts behind her. No alarms. Maybe the guards hadn't heard. Or maybe they had and were already mobilizing. Serena didn't look back. She reached the street and flagged down the first taxi she saw. "Where to?" the driver asked. Serena gave him the address of the coffee shop where Lily worked. She needed money. A phone. Help. The drive took 20 minutes that felt like 20 hours. Serena kept checking over her shoulder, expecting black SUVs to appear, expecting Vittorio's men to drag her back. Nothing. The street stayed normal. The taxi pulled up outside the closed coffee shop at 2:45 a.m. Serena paid with the emergency $20 bill she kept hidden in her shoe and limped to the back entrance. Lily had given her a spare key months ago. "Please still work. Please." The lock turned. Inside, the shop smelled like old coffee grounds and cleaning solution. Serena moved carefully through the dark space toward the office where the manager kept a desktop computer. She powered it on. The login screen appeared. Serena tried the password Lily had mentioned once, the manager's daughter's name plus the year the shop opened. It worked. She was in. First thing, she logged into her email and found Lily's most recent message. "Serena, where are you? Men in suits moved me to a hotel downtown. They won't tell me anything. They took my phone. I'm scared. Please tell me you're okay." The message was 3 days old. Serena's throat tightened. She typed quickly. "I'm okay. Still safe. Don't trust everything they tell you. I love you." She hit send before she could second guess it. Then she pulled up a search engine and typed, "Rachel Torres fraud victim Lucien Moretti." The results loaded slowly. Most were unrelated. Obituaries, social media profiles, business listings. Then she found it. A news article from 18 months ago. Local woman reports investment fraud, later recants testimony. Rachel Torres, 34, of Queens, had reported a man named Lucas Morrison, one of Lucian's known aliases, for defrauding her family's restaurant business. She provided evidence to investigators. Then 2 weeks later, she recanted everything and refused to cooperate further. The article noted that Torres had left New York shortly after, and her current whereabouts were unknown. Serena's hands shook as she kept reading. 6 months after Torres disappeared, her sister died in a house fire, ruled accidental. But the fire started in the middle of the night in a locked bedroom. Serena felt sick. This was Lucian's pattern: target a woman, steal from her. If she fought back, destroy everyone she loved until she stopped fighting. Rachel Torres wasn't bait. She was a survivor. And she knew something that could end Lucian permanently. Serena needed to find her. But first she needed a phone. She checked the manager's desk drawers until she found an old backup cell phone still in its packaging. She activated it using the shop's Wi-Fi and immediately called the number Rachel had used. It rang 4 times. Then, "You actually came alone." Rachel's voice. Serena exhaled. "Not exactly. I'm calling from a coffee shop in Brooklyn. Vittorio's men are probably looking for me right now." "Then you don't have much time. Can you get to Queens?" "Where in Queens?" "Astoria. There's a diner called Olympus on 31st Street. Be there in 1 hour." "How will I know it's really you?" "I'll be wearing a red jacket and carrying a copy of East of Eden. Don't bring anyone. Don't tell anyone. If I see cars following you, I disappear forever." The line went dead. Serena stared at the phone. Every instinct screamed this was a trap, but staying paralyzed in fear was its own kind of death. She grabbed the backup phone, locked the coffee shop behind her, and found another taxi. "Astoria," she said, 31st Street. The Olympus Diner looked like every other late-night Greek restaurant in New York. Faded blue awning, flickering neon sign, windows that needed washing. Serena paid the driver and walked inside. The place was nearly empty. A couple of truck drivers at the counter, an old man reading a newspaper in the corner booth, and near the back, a woman in a red jacket with dark hair pulled into a ponytail, a worn paperback on the table in front of her. Rachel Torres. Serena's ankle throbbed as she limped toward the booth. Rachel looked up. Their eyes met. Something passed between them, recognition that had nothing to do with physical appearance and everything to do with shared trauma. "Sit," Rachel said quietly. Serena sat. Up close, Rachel looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, lines around her mouth that came from grinding teeth, the kind of weariness that sleep couldn't fix. "You look like hell," Rachel observed. "I jumped out a window to get here." "Smart. Stupid, but smart." Rachel pushed a cup of coffee across the table. "Drink. You're going to need it." Serena wrapped her hands around the warm mug. "How did you find me?" "I've been tracking Lucienne for 3 years. When I saw the video of you at the ballroom, I knew you were either very brave or very stupid." Rachel's expression didn't change. "Turns out you're both. The DeLucas said you disappeared." "I did. After my sister died, I realized fighting Lucienne through legal channels was suicide. So I stopped fighting legally." Rachel leaned forward. "I started hunting him the way he hunts us, carefully, patiently, by becoming invisible." "You found him." "I know where he is, I know what he's planning, and I know why he targeted Isabella DeLuca specifically." Serena's pulse spiked. "Tell me." Rachel glanced toward the door, then back at Serena. "Lucienne didn't fall in love with Isabella. He was hired to seduce her." The words didn't make sense at first. Serena blinked. "What?" "Someone paid Lucienne $60,000 to infiltrate the DeLuca family, to get close to Isabella, to marry her and gain access to their financial operations." Rachel pulled out a folder from her bag and slid it across the table. "I have proof." Serena opened the folder with shaking hands. Inside were printouts of bank transfers, encrypted messages, photographs. And at the center of everything, wire transfers from an account registered to VD Enterprises, LLC. 6 payments, $60,000 total, all dated over the past 14 months. Serena looked up slowly. "VD Enterprises?" "Vittorio DeLuca," Rachel said softly. "Isabella's father hired Lucian to seduce his own daughter." The world tilted sideways. Serena couldn't breathe. "That's impossible. Look at the dates. The first payment was made 2 weeks before Lucian walked into that hotel lounge where you were singing." Rachel's voice stayed eerily calm. "He was paid to target you, to steal from you, to use your money to fund the image he needed to approach Isabella." "Why would Vittorio get—" "Because Isabella was pushing for leadership, challenging her father's decisions, building alliances with younger captains who wanted to modernize the organization." Rachel's eyes were hollow. "Vittorio needed to discredit her, prove she was too emotional, too easily manipulated, too weak to lead. So he hired Lucienne to seduce her and humiliate her publicly. And you accidentally did exactly what Vittorio needed you to do." Rachel's smile was bitter. "You exposed Lucienne at the engagement party. You made Isabella look foolish in front of every important family. You destroyed her credibility completely." Serena felt like she was drowning. "Vittorio used me. He used all of us. Me, you, Claire Hutchinson, every woman Lucian destroyed." Rachel's voice cracked. "We were collateral damage in a power play between a father and daughter. But the other women, the fraud victims, some were real. Lucien's a con artist. He can't help himself. But the ones who died?" Rachel leaned closer. "Those were women who figured out the truth, who realized Lucien wasn't working alone, who traced the money back to Vittorio." Serena's hands were numb. "Claire Hutchinson. Found the connection, threatened to expose it, died 3 weeks later. Your sister started asking questions about VD Enterprises. House fire killed her 2 weeks later. And you disappeared before they could make me the third accident." Rachel's jaw tightened. "I've been collecting evidence ever since, waiting for the right moment. And then you walked onto that stage and handed me the perfect opportunity." Serena pushed back from the table. No, I need to think." "We don't have time to think. Vittorio knows you escaped by now. He's probably tracking your movements. We need to act fast." "Act how?" Rachel pulled out a second phone. "We expose both of them. Lucienne and Vittorio, together. We send this evidence to the FBI, the media, every crime family on the East Coast. We burn the entire thing down. They'll kill us. They're already trying to kill us." Rachel's voice turned hard. "The only difference is whether we die silently or take them down with us." Serena stared at the folder, at the evidence that proved everything she thought she knew was a lie. Vittorio didn't save her. He orchestrated her destruction, used her grief, her desperation, her trust against her, made her a weapon in his war against his own daughter. Rage flooded through her system, hot, violent, clarifying.
What do you need me to do? Rachel smiled grimly. First, we need to get you somewhere safe, somewhere Vittorio can't reach. Where? I have a place in Jersey, off the grid, cash rent, no paper trail. Rachel stood. Then we compile everything, your testimony, my evidence. We build a case that even the DeLucas can't bury. And Lucien?
We save him for last. Rachel's eyes gleamed. Because he's the one piece of evidence that can't be silenced. He knows everything. Who paid him? When? Why? If we can get him to testify, he'll never testify. He will if he thinks it's his only way to survive. Rachel grabbed her jacket. Come on, we're leaving through the kitchen. They moved quickly through the diner toward the back exit. Serena's mind spun. Could she trust Rachel? Could she trust anyone? What if this was just another layer of manipulation? They reached the kitchen. Rachel pushed open the back door and froze. 3 men stood in the alley. Not Vittorio's men. Not DeLuca security. Strangers. But the way they moved, the way they positioned themselves, professional, dangerous. The lead man smiled. Rachel Torres. It's been a long time. Rachel's face drained of color. Marcus, did you really think we wouldn't find you? Marcus stepped closer. His voice was conversational, almost friendly. You've been very busy, following Lucien, collecting evidence, making phone calls. Who sent you? Rachel's voice shook. Who do you think? Marcus's smile widened. Mr. DeLuca wants to have a conversation with both of you. Serena backed toward the door. Marcus moved faster. He grabbed her arm with crushing force. I wouldn't do that, Miss Vale. You've caused enough trouble already. Let me go. Not until you answer some questions. Marcus pulled her forward roughly, like why you're meeting with a known fugitive, and what you plan to do with stolen evidence. It's not stolen. Documents taken from private servers without authorization? That's theft. Conspiracy. Fraud. Marcus's expression hardened. You're both looking at serious federal charges, unless you cooperate. Rachel lunged forward. Run, Serena! One of Marcus's men hit Rachel across the face. She dropped. Serena screamed. Marcus clamped a hand over her mouth. Quiet, or your sister gets the same treatment. Serena went completely still. Marcus leaned closer. That's better. Now, you're going to come with us peacefully. You're going to answer Mr. DeLuca's questions. And if you cooperate fully, maybe you both survive this. He dragged Serena toward a black SUV parked at the alley entrance. Rachel was unconscious on the ground, blood pooling beneath her head. And Serena realized with crystal clarity that she'd walked directly into the trap Vittorio had been building since the moment she picked up that microphone. She'd never had control, never had a chance. She was just another piece in a game played by men who valued power over human life. The SUV door opened. Marcus shoved Serena inside. The last thing she saw before the door slammed shut was Rachel's body being lifted by 2 men and carried toward a second vehicle. Then darkness. And the certainty that she'd just made the worst mistake of her life. The warehouse smelled like rust and old blood. Serena came back to consciousness slowly, her head pounding, her wrists bound behind a metal chair. She blinked until the room came into focus. Concrete floors, high ceilings, industrial lighting that buzzed like dying insects. Rachel sat in another chair 10 feet away, still unconscious, blood dried on the side of her face. And standing between them, perfectly calm, was Vittorio DeLuca. He held a folder. The same folder Rachel had shown her. You're awake, Vittorio observed. Good. We can begin. Serena's voice came out hoarse. You set this up. I facilitated an inevitable conclusion. Vittorio opened the folder and studied the contents. Rachel Torres has been a problem for 3 years. You became a problem 6 days ago. It made sense to resolve both issues simultaneously. You hired Lucien? I hired a contractor to perform a specific task. Lucien Moretti was effective, efficient, and ultimately disposable. Vittorio's expression never changed. He served his purpose. Destroying your own daughter? Teaching my daughter a valuable lesson about trust and leadership. Vittorio set the folder down. Isabella is brilliant, but she's impulsive, emotional. She needed to understand what happens when emotions override strategy. So you broke her heart. I saved her life. Vittorio's voice hardened. The captains pushing for her leadership would have used her, manipulated her, and eventually disposed of her once she outlived her usefulness. I demonstrated those weaknesses before they became fatal. By making her fall in love with a con artist, by showing her that love is a weapon and trust is a liability. Vittorio walked closer. Now she's stronger, colder, more capable of leading without sentiment clouding her judgment. Serena pulled against the restraints. You're a monster. I'm a father protecting his daughter the only way this world allows. Vittorio crouched in front of her. You think I'm cruel? I gave Isabella armor. In our world, that's love. What about Claire Hutchinson? My sister's safety. All the women Lucian destroyed? Necessary casualties. Vittorio stood. Claire Hutchinson figured out too much. Your sister is leveraged to ensure your cooperation. The other women were opportunities Lucian pursued independently. I didn't micromanage his methods. You're going to kill us. That depends entirely on your next choices. Vittorio gestured toward one of his men. You have two options. Option 1. You recant everything. Tell federal investigators you were mistaken, emotional, seeking attention. Rachel Torres does the same. The evidence disappears. You both live. And if we refuse? Option 2. You both vanish, along with your sister, along with anyone who's ever helped you. Complete erasure. Vittorio's voice stayed terrifyingly calm. I've done it before. I'll do it again. Rachel stirred, her eyes opened slowly. When she saw Vittorio, she spat blood onto the concrete. Go to hell. Vittorio smiled faintly. Miss Torres, welcome back. I was just explaining the situation to Miss Vale. We're not recanting anything. Then you're choosing death better than living as your puppet. Rachel's voice was raw but steady. You can't kill everyone who knows the truth. The evidence is backed up. Multiple servers, multiple contacts. If we disappear, everything goes public automatically. Vittorio's expression flickered. Just for a second, doubt, concern. Then it smoothed back into perfect control. You're bluffing. Am I? Rachel smiled through blood-stained teeth. You hired Lucian to destroy your daughter's credibility. We have the wire transfers, the encrypted messages, the timeline. And we have testimony from 3 other women Lucian targeted. All of it backed up. All of it time-stamped. All of it set to release if we don't check in every 12 hours. Vittorio studied her face. Who has the backups? You'll never know, because if you torture us for names, the deadline passes anyway. Rachel leaned forward despite her restraints. You've already lost, Vittorio. The only question is whether you make it worse by killing us. The silence stretched impossibly long. Serena could hear her own heartbeat, could feel sweat sliding down her spine. Vittorio pulled out his phone and made a call. Verify Rachel Torres's communications over the past 72 hours. Every email, every file transfer, every cloud backup. He paused. I need confirmation in 10 minutes. He ended the call. Then he looked at Serena. You should have stayed in the brownstone. You should have left me alone. I tried to protect you. You used me. Serena's voice cracked. You used all of us. And now you're threatening to kill my sister if I don't cover up your crimes. Covering up crimes is what families do. Vittorio checked his watch. You have 9 minutes to decide whether you value truth or survival. Serena looked at Rachel. Rachel looked back. And in that moment, they both understood. They'd walked into Vittorio's trap. They'd gambled everything on evidence that might not exist the way Rachel claimed. They'd played a game against someone who'd spent a lifetime mastering it, and now they were going to pay the price. Vittorio's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression darkened. You're certain? A pause. All of it? Another pause. Fine, contain it. He hung up. When he looked at Rachel, something murderous flickered in his eyes. You actually did it. The backups are real. Rachel smiled. Told you. Which means I can't kill you, yet. Vittorio gestured to his men. Put them in the van, we're moving locations. Where? Somewhere federal investigators will never find you. Somewhere you'll stay until I neutralize every backup, every contact, every piece of evidence. Vittorio's voice turned cold. You wanted war, Miss Torres. Congratulations. You just declared one you can't win. The men moved forward. Serena thrashed against the restraints. Wait, my sister. You said if we cooperated. I said it depends on your choices. You chose poorly. Vittorio headed toward the exit. Your sister will be safe as long as you both remain silent and compliant. Test that promise, and she becomes Rachel's sister. A cautionary tale about the cost of disobedience. The men cut Serena's restraints only to immediately bind her wrists with zip ties. Rachel received the same treatment. They were dragged toward a cargo van with blacked-out windows. This was it. This was how Serena Vale disappeared. Not dramatically, not heroically, just quietly erased by people powerful enough to rewrite reality. She thought about Lily, about her father, about the house she'd mortgaged, and the life she'd destroyed trying to seek justice. And she realized the cruelest truth of all. She'd lost. Completely. Irreversibly. The van doors opened. Darkness waited inside. And Serena understood that sometimes survival meant becoming something you never wanted to be. Something colder, harder, willing to do whatever it took to outlast monsters. The doors slammed shut. The engine started. And Serena Vale made a promise to herself in that suffocating darkness. If she survived this, she would stop being the victim. She would become the thing Vittorio De Luca feared most, someone with nothing left to lose. The van drove for 40 minutes before stopping. Serena counted every turn, every acceleration, every bump in the road, trying to map their location in her mind, even though she knew it was useless. Her wrists burned where the zip ties cut into skin. Her ankle throbbed from the earlier jump. But the physical pain was nothing compared to the suffocating certainty that she was being erased. Beside her in the darkness, Rachel breathed in short, sharp bursts. You okay? Serena whispered. Define okay. Still alive. Barely counts. Rachel shifted slightly. Listen, when they open those doors, we run. We're zip-tied. I've gotten out of worse. Rachel's voice dropped even lower. There's a technique. Raise your arms above your head fast and bring them down hard against your stomach. The force can snap cheap zip ties. Can or will. 50-50 odds. That's not reassuring. The van stopped abruptly. Voices outside. Footsteps. The doors flew open. Harsh fluorescent light flooded in, blinding after the darkness. Serena squinted against the glare as hands grabbed her shoulders and hauled her out roughly. She hit concrete hard, pain exploding through her knees. Rachel landed beside her. They were inside another warehouse, this one smaller, older, with rusted metal walls and a smell like motor oil and decay. 3 men in dark clothes stood around them. Marcus leaned against a workbench nearby, cleaning his fingernails with a knife. Welcome to your temporary home, he said without looking up. Mr. De Luca is securing a more permanent location, but this'll do for now. Serena pushed herself to her knees. How permanent? Depends on how cooperative you are. Marcus finally looked at them. There are holding cells in the back, no windows, soundproof. You'll be fed twice daily, bathroom breaks supervised, 0 communication with the outside world. You can't just keep us here. I can do whatever Mr. De Luca tells me to do. Marcus's expression never changed. And right now, he wants you alive, but contained. So that's what you are. Rachel spat blood onto the concrete. Vittorio's scared. Marcus smiled faintly. He's cautious. There's a difference. He's scared because he knows the evidence is real. He knows we backed it up. He knows killing us triggers an automatic release. Rachel's voice gained strength. So he's scrambling, trying to find the servers, trying to track the contacts, but he won't find them all in time. Maybe, maybe not. Marcus gestured to his men. Take Torres to cell 2, Vale to cell 3. The men moved forward. Rachel caught Serena's eye. A look passed between them. Now. Rachel surged upward, raising her bound hands above her head and slamming them down against her stomach with brutal force. The zip tie snapped. She swung at the nearest guard, catching him across the jaw. He stumbled backward. Serena tried the same technique, arms up, slam down. Nothing. The zip tie held. Rachel grabbed for the guard's gun. Almost had it. Then Marcus was there, moving faster than seemed possible, and he drove his fist into Rachel's stomach so hard she doubled over gasping. Nice try. He kicked her legs out from under her. She hit the floor face first. But I've seen that trick before. Two guards grabbed Rachel and dragged her toward the back of the warehouse. She fought every step, twisting, kicking, screaming obscenities that echoed off metal walls. Then a door slammed. Silence. Serena knelt alone on the concrete, zip ties still intact, breathing hard. Marcus crouched in front of her. Your friend is going to get herself killed. Don't make the same mistake. Why are you doing this? Because I'm paid well to follow orders, same as everyone else. Marcus pulled out a fresh zip tie. Hands behind your back. Now. Serena didn't move. Marcus sighed. Then he grabbed her wrist and twisted until she cried out and had no choice but to comply. He secured her hands behind her back with a new zip tie, tighter than before, and hauled her to her feet. Cell 3. Move. He shoved her forward. Serena stumbled through the warehouse toward a narrow corridor lined with metal doors. Each one had a small window with reinforced glass. Marcus opened the third door and pushed her inside. The cell was tiny, maybe 8 feet by 8 feet. Concrete floor, metal walls, a thin mattress in the corner, a bucket in the opposite corner for waste. No windows, no light except what filtered through the door window. Someone will bring food in a few hours. Marcus started to close the door. Wait. Serena turned. My sister. You said she's safe. She is. For now. Marcus paused. Mr. DeLuca keeps his word. As long as you cooperate, your sister stays untouched. How do I know you're telling the truth? Marcus pulled out his phone and showed her a photo. Lily, sitting in what looked like a hotel room, alive, unharmed, reading a book. The timestamp was from 20 minutes ago. Relief flooded through Serena so intensely she nearly collapsed. See, Marcus said. Safe, fed, bored probably, but alive. I want to talk to her. Not happening. Marcus pocketed the phone. But as long as you stay quiet and Rachel's backup evidence doesn't surface, your sister continues being comfortable. He slammed the door. The lock clicked with a sound like finality. Serena stood in the near darkness, breathing hard, trying to process everything. She was trapped. Rachel was trapped. Lily was being held somewhere, and Vittorio had them all exactly where he wanted them. She sank onto the mattress and pulled her knees to her chest. Think. There had to be a way out. Rachel said the evidence was backed up. Multiple servers. Multiple contacts. Automatic release if they didn't check in. But was that true? Or was Rachel bluffing to buy time? And even if it was true, how long before Vittorio's people found the servers? Hours? Days? Serena had no way of knowing. No way of communicating. No way of... The air vent. Serena's eyes tracked upward. There was a small ventilation grate in the ceiling corner. Maybe 12 inches square. Probably too small to crawl through, but maybe large enough to pass something through, or to hear through. She stood carefully and moved beneath the vent. Rachel? She called softly. Nothing. Rachel, can you hear me? Silence. Then, faintly, Serena? Rachel's voice, distant, coming from somewhere deeper in the building. I'm here. Are you okay? Define okay. A bitter laugh. I think Marcus cracked a rib. The evidence backups. Are they real? A long pause. Mostly. Serena's stomach dropped. Mostly? I have backups, but they're not automated. I have to manually release them. Rachel's voice cracked. I was bluffing about the automatic trigger, buying time. How much time? I don't know. Depends how fast Vittorio's tech people work. Another pause. I'm sorry, Serena. I thought I had this under control. We're both trapped because I trusted you, and you're trapped because you trusted Lucian. I'm just collateral damage. Rachel's voice hardened. But I meant what I said. The evidence is real, and if we can get out of here, we can still burn everything down. How are we supposed to get out? We're locked in cells with armed guards. I'm working on it. Working on what? The door hinge. It's old, rusted. If I can work it loose, that'll take hours. Then I better get started. Rachel went silent. Serena pressed her forehead against the cold concrete wall. This was insane. They were going to die here, slowly, quietly, erased, unless... Serena's mind raced. Vittorio wanted them alive as long as the evidence existed, which meant leverage. If she could convince him the evidence was more dangerous than he realized, if she could make him believe releasing them was safer than containing them, it was a desperate gamble. But desperation was all she had left.
Bullshit fault.
6 hours later, the door opened. A different guard. Younger. Nervous looking. He carried a tray with food, sandwich, water bottle, apple, and set it on the floor. "Eat," he said. Serena didn't move. "I need to talk to Vittorio." "He's busy." "Tell him I have information about the backup servers. Tell him I know where Rachel's contacts are." Serena forced her voice steady. "Tell him I'll trade that information for my sister's freedom." The guard hesitated. "I don't think, just deliver the message. He'll want to hear it." The guard left. The lock clicked. Serena waited. 30 minutes passed. Then the door opened again. Vittorio stepped inside. He looked tired. Lines around his eyes deeper, jaw tense. "You have information," he said flatly. "I want guarantees first." "You're not in a position to negotiate. Neither are you." Serena met his eyes. "Rachel's evidence is real, and it's worse than you think. She didn't just document your payments to Lucien. She documented everything. Your entire operation, shell companies, money laundering routes, offshore accounts, political bribes." Vittorio's expression flickered. "You're lying." "Am I? Rachel's been tracking you for 3 years. She's obsessive, brilliant, and she had help." Serena leaned forward. "Your own daughter helped her." The silence became absolute. Vittorio went completely still. "What did you say?" "Isabella. She figured out what you did. Figured out you hired Lucien to humiliate her. And she's been feeding information to Rachel for 6 months." Serena's heart hammered, but she kept her voice steady. "Why do you think Rachel knew exactly where to find me? How do you think she got access to encrypted servers?" "Isabella would never betray the family. You betrayed her first." Serena's voice hardened. "You broke her heart to teach her a lesson. And she learned it. She learned that family loyalty is a lie, that trust is a weapon, that the only way to survive your world is to destroy it first." Vittorio's face drained of color. "Where's the evidence?" "Release me and my sister. Let us disappear. And I'll tell you where Isabella's keeping her copies." "I could torture you and trigger the automatic release Rachel set up. Even if she was bluffing about some backups, Isabella's aren't bluffing. She has deadman switches, lawyers, journalists on retainer." Serena forced herself to hold his gaze. "Kill us, and Isabella releases everything. Let us go, and maybe she shows mercy." Vittorio pulled out his phone. He made a call. "Bring Isabella here. Now. I don't care where she is or what she's doing. Bring her." He hung up. "You better be telling the truth, Miss Vale. Because if you're not, your sister dies first." He left. The door slammed. Serena collapsed against the wall, shaking violently. She just gambled everything on a lie. Isabella wasn't working with Rachel, probably didn't even know Rachel existed. But Serena needed Vittorio distracted, needed him questioning his own daughter instead of focusing on containing his prisoners. Needed chaos. Because chaos created opportunities. What? 2 hours later, voices erupted outside. Shouting, angry. Serena pressed her ear against the door. "How dare you question my loyalty?" Isabella's voice, furious. "Evidence suggests you've been communicating with Rachel Torres." Vittorio, cold, controlled. "I don't even know who that is." "She knows intimate details about our operations. Half the East Coast knows details about our operations because you've been sloppy." "Don't you dare!" "Don't I dare what? Call out the truth? You hired a con artist to seduce me. You humiliated me publicly. You destroyed my credibility." Isabella's voice cracked. "And now you accuse me of betrayal? You're the betrayer, father, not me. I did what was necessary. You did what was cruel. There's a difference." Footsteps. More voices. Then Isabella again, closer to Serena's door. "Where is she?" "The singer." "Serena Vale." "Cell 3. "Open it." "Isabella, you don't have authority." "Open it, or I walk out of this building and never come back." A pause. Then keys rattling. The door opened. Isabella stood in the corridor, flanked by 2 guards, her face a mask of barely contained rage. When she saw Serena, something complicated flickered in her expression. You told my father I was working with Rachel Torres. Serena's throat tightened. I see. Smart. Reckless. But smart. Isabella stepped inside the cell. Unfortunately, it's not true, which means you just made everything worse. I needed time. Time for what? To escape? To find help? Isabella's laugh was bitter. There is no help. There's just different versions of captivity. Then help me. Serena pushed herself to her feet. Your father destroyed both of us. He's still destroying us. If we work together... Work together? Isabella's voice rose. You ruined my engagement party. You made me look weak in front of every important family on the East Coast. And now you want my help? He used us both. I know he used us. Isabella's composure finally shattered. I've known for months, since I found the wire transfers, since I traced the payments to Lucien, since I realized my own father orchestrated my humiliation. Serena's breath caught. You knew. Of course I knew. I'm not stupid. Isabella's eyes glistened. But I couldn't prove it, couldn't expose it without destroying the entire family, so I stayed quiet and waited for an opportunity. Then help me escape. Help me get my sister back, and I'll testify against him. Testify? Isabella's laugh was broken. You think federal courts scare my father? You think exposing his crimes will change anything? She stepped closer. The only thing that matters in this world is power, and right now, he has all of it. Then take it from him. The words hung between them. Isabella went very still. What? You're his daughter, his successor. The captains respect you. Serena's voice gained strength. Stop letting him control you. Stop playing by his rules. Take the power yourself. You're suggesting I'm suggesting you stop being a victim. Serena met her eyes. He taught you that trust is a weapon. Fine. Use it. Against him. Isabella stared at her for a long moment. Then she turned to the guards. Bring Rachel Torres here and get Serena's zip ties off. Miss DeLuca, your father said, my father put us all in this situation. Now I'm getting us out. Isabella's voice turned to ice. Move. Now. The guards exchanged glances. Then they obeyed. One of them cut Serena's zip ties. Blood rushed back into her hands, painful and tingling. 2 minutes later, Rachel was dragged into the cell. Her face was swollen, blood crusted under her nose, but her eyes were sharp. Isabella DeLuca, Rachel said. Finally. You've been tracking my father for 3 years. You have evidence. Enough to bury him. And you and this entire organization. Rachel's smile was grim. But I'm guessing you're not here to silence me. I'm here to make a deal. Isabella crossed her arms. You want my father destroyed. I want control of the family operations. We can help each other. What kind of deal? You give me copies of everything, every wire transfer, every document, every backup. Isabella's voice stayed flat. I'll use it to force his retirement, quietly. No federal investigations, no public trials, just a peaceful transition of power. And what do we get? Serena demanded. Freedom, safety. Your sister returned unharmed, and enough money to disappear permanently. Isabella turned to face them both. My father wins by controlling narratives. I win by controlling reality. Choose. Rachel glanced at Serena. Serena glanced back. This wasn't justice. This was compromise, trading one monster for another. But it was survival, and survival meant living long enough to fight another day. I need guarantees, Rachel said slowly. You need to be alive. Isabella pulled out her phone. I'm giving you 30 seconds to decide. After that, my father returns and you both disappear permanently. How do we know you won't just take the evidence and kill us anyway? Bishop, you don't. You take the risk or you die here. 20 seconds. Serena's mind raced. Every option was terrible, but some terrible options left you breathing. We'll do it, Serena said. Rachel shot her a look. Serena, we're out of choices. Serena turned back to Isabella. You get us out of here, get Lily to safety, and we'll give you everything. Isabella nodded once. Smart. Finally, she gestured to the guards. Take them out through the service exit. Use my car. Drive them to the safe house in Newark. Your father will be furious. My father will be retired by morning. Isabella's smile was cold. I've been preparing for this moment since the engagement party. He just gave me the perfect excuse. The guards moved to escort Serena and Rachel out, but before they reached the door, gunshots exploded through the warehouse. Everyone froze. More gunshots. Shouting. Then Marcus's voice, loud and panicked. We've got breach at the north entrance. Multiple shooters. Isabella's face went pale. Who? The cell door exploded inward. Lucien Moretti stepped through the smoke. He held a gun in each hand, blood splattered across his expensive suit, and his smile was the most terrifying thing Serena had ever seen. Hello, Isabella, he said pleasantly. We need to talk. Lucien Moretti stood in the doorway, surrounded by smoke and the smell of gunpowder, holding two guns like a man who'd spent his entire life preparing for this exact moment. His suit was torn. Blood, someone else's blood, splattered across his shirt, but his hands were steady, his smile never wavered, and his eyes moved across the room with the cold calculation of a predator who'd already won. Isabella, he said again, voice pleasant, almost friendly. You look surprised. Isabella recovered faster than anyone else in the room. She stepped forward, positioning herself between Lucien and the others. You should be dead. Lots of people think that. I keep disappointing them. Lucien's gaze shifted to Serena. Hello, darling. Miss me? Serena couldn't speak. Her entire body had gone numb. Lucien took another step into the cell. Behind him, the warehouse echoed with shouts, footsteps, more gunfire. His men were still fighting Vittorio's guards, still clearing the building. How many people did you bring? Isabella demanded. Enough. Lucien kept both guns raised. Your father's security is good, but they're not prepared for someone who doesn't care about collateral damage. What do you want? What I've always wanted. Control, money, power. Lucien's smile widened, and revenge against the people who tried to erase me. Rachel moved slightly, testing whether she could reach the door. Lucien swung one gun toward her without looking. Don't. I've gotten very good at shooting moving targets. Rachel froze. Smart girl. Lucien's attention returned to Isabella. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call your father. Tell him to stand down. Tell him I have you, Serena and Rachel. And if he doesn't surrender control of the DeLuca operations within the next hour, I start killing hostages. He'll never surrender. Then you die first. And he lives with that failure forever. Lucien's voice stayed eerily calm. I know Vittorio. I studied him for 18 months. He values control over everything, but he values you more than he admits. Losing you breaks him, and broken men make mistakes. Isabella's jaw tightened. You're insane. I'm practical. There's a difference. Lucien pulled out a phone with his left hand, keeping the right gun trained on Isabella. Make the call. Now. And if I refuse? Lucien shot the wall 6 inches from Serena's head. The sound was deafening in the small space. Serena screamed and dropped to the floor, ears ringing. Next one goes through her kneecap, Lucien said pleasantly. Then Rachel's, then yours. I'll work my way up until someone cooperates or everyone's crippled. Your choice. Isabella's hands shook as she pulled out her phone. She dialed. Waited. Father, it's me. Her voice stayed remarkably steady. Lucien's here. He has us. He wants... She stopped, listened. Her expression changed, something like shock, then something darker. You're not coming. Not a question, a realization. Vittorio's voice was faint through the phone speaker, but Serena caught pieces of it. Too risky. Contain the situation. Acceptable losses. Isabella's face went completely blank. I'm your daughter. Compromised position. Can't negotiate with... I'm your daughter and you're leaving me here to die. Silence on the other end. Then, I'm sorry, Isabella, but the family comes first. The line went dead. Isabella lowered the phone slowly. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Isabella started laughing, not hysterical, not broken, just bitter, cold. He's not coming, she said to no one in particular. I'm a liability. Acceptable losses. The family comes first. Lucien tilted his head. That must hurt. It clarifies things. Isabella turned to face him. Her eyes were dry, hard. You want the DeLuca operations? Fine, I'll give them to you. Serena started. Shut up. Isabella's voice cut like a blade. My father just chose the organization over his own daughter. He hired you to humiliate me. He held me hostage to his vision of strength, and now he's abandoning me to die because saving me would make him look weak. She stepped closer to Lucien. So fuck him. Fuck his empire. Fuck his legacy. You want it? Take it. I'll help you burn everything he built. Lucien studied her face. You mean that? Every word. And what do you want in return? Survival, freedom, and the satisfaction of knowing I destroyed the man who destroyed me first. Isabella's smile was terrible. Deal? Lucien lowered one gun slightly. Deal. But insurance first. He gestured with the weapon towards Serena and Rachel. They stay as collateral until the transfer is complete. No. Serena lunged forward. Lucien swung the gun toward her head. Stay down, Serena. I don't want to hurt you, but I will. You already hurt me. I used you. There's a difference. You were a means to an end, nothing personal. His expression never changed. But if you interfere now, it becomes very personal, very fast. Rachel grabbed Serena's arm and pulled her back. Don't, she whispered. Not yet. Lucien's men appeared in the doorway, 3 of them, armed, covered in dust and blood. Building's clear, one reported. DeLuca's men retreated. Local PD is 10 minutes out. Then we move fast. Lucien gestured to Isabella. You're with me. We're going to your father's office. You're going to access his accounts, his contacts, his operations network, everything. And if I can't, then I kill your friends and try again with your father. But I think you're smarter than that. Lucien's smile never reached his eyes. Aren't you? Isabella didn't hesitate. Let's go. She walked toward the door. Lucien followed. At the threshold, he glanced back at Serena. For what it's worth, you really were special. The only woman who almost made me feel something real. He paused. Almost. Then he was gone. The door slammed shut. The lock clicked, and Serena sat on the cold concrete floor beside Rachel, finally understanding that she'd survived this long only because more powerful people kept finding her useful. The moment that changed, she was dead. They had maybe 15 minutes before police arrived. Serena could hear sirens in the distance, growing louder. We need to move, Rachel said, pushing herself to her feet. Her face was pale. Sweat beaded on her forehead. If the cops find us here, we tell them everything, and we die in witness protection or we disappear before trial. Either way, Vittorio wins. Rachel limped toward the door and tested the handle, still locked. We need to get out before anyone, cops, Lucien's men, Vittorio's cleanup crew, finds us. How? Rachel pulled a bobby pin from her hair. I've been in worse situations. That's not reassuring. It should be, because I'm still alive. Rachel knelt beside the lock and started working the pin into the mechanism. Her hands shook. Talk to me. Keep me focused. About what? Anything. Your sister, your father, why you sing. Rachel's voice strained with concentration. Just talk. Serena leaned against the wall. My father used to say that singing was how you told the truth when regular words weren't enough. Smart man. He was, but he died broken, and I inherited all his debts along with his advice. Serena's throat tightened. I thought I was doing the right thing, trusting Lucien, mortgaging the house, fighting back at the ballroom. Every choice felt inevitable. That's how they get you. Make everything feel inevitable. The lock clicked. Rachel exhaled sharply. Got it. The door swung open. The corridor beyond was empty. Smoke drifted through the warehouse from multiple fires. Emergency lights flashed red and white across metal walls. They moved quickly, staying low, following exit signs. The warehouse was chaos. Bodies on the ground. Serena couldn't tell if they were unconscious or dead, and didn't want to look close enough to find out. Overturned equipment, bullet holes in walls, the smell of smoke and blood and fear. They reached a loading dock door and pushed through into cold night air. Police sirens screamed closer, maybe 5 blocks away. There, Rachel pointed to a car parked across the street. Lucian's men left keys in the ignition. Amateurs. They ran. Serena's ankle screamed with every step, but she ignored it. They reached the car. Rachel slid into the driver's seat. The engine roared to life. They peeled away from the curb just as the first police cruiser turned the corner behind them. Rachel drove fast, but not recklessly, weaving through industrial streets toward the highway. "Where are we going?" Serena asked. "Newark Safe House. I have supplies there. Cash, fake IDs, everything we need to disappear." "What about Lily?" "We'll get her. But first we survive the next 24 hours. Rachel's hands gripped the wheel tight. "Vittorio will be hunting us. Lucien will be hunting us. Isabella might be hunting us depending on how her deal plays out. We need to be ghosts. I'm tired of running." "Then you die. Those are your options." Rachel's voice cracked. "I've been running for 3 years. It's exhausting, lonely, terrifying. But I'm still breathing. That counts for something." They drove in silence for 10 minutes. Then Serena's burner phone, the one from the coffee shop, still somehow in her pocket, buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. "Serena Vale?" A woman's voice, older, authoritative. "Who is this?" "Special Agent Catherine Morrison, FBI. I've been investigating Lucian Moretti for 2 years. I know what happened at the Grand Bellagio. I know about Vittorio De Luca. And I know you have information that can help me put both of them away permanently." Serena's heart hammered. "How did you get this number?" "We've been monitoring De Luca communications. Your sister mentioned you had a backup phone. We traced the activation." Morrison paused. "You're in danger. Let me help you. The last time someone offered to help me, I ended up locked in a warehouse. I'm not offering protection. I'm offering a deal. You testify against Lucian and Vittorio. Full immunity. Witness protection for you and your sister. And a chance to actually get justice instead of just revenge." Rachel was shaking her head violently. Serena covered the phone. "What?" "Don't trust her. Federal agents can't guarantee safety. The De Lucas have people inside law enforcement." "She's right," Morrison's voice came through the phone. "I can't guarantee safety, but I can guarantee that if you run, they'll find you eventually. Vittorio has unlimited resources. Lucien has nothing to lose. You need the kind of protection only federal custody can provide. Or federal custody is just a different kind of prison. Maybe. But it's a prison where you're alive." Morrison's voice softened. "I've seen Lucien's file. I know about Claire Hutchinson, about 7 other women. You're not the first person he's destroyed, but you could be the one who stops him." Serena closed her eyes. Every option was terrible. Run with Rachel and hope they stayed ahead of people with infinite resources. Trust the FBI and hope federal protection actually meant something. Or disappear completely and spend the rest of her life looking over her shoulder. "I need to think." "You have 12 hours. After that, I can't guarantee you'll still be findable." Morrison gave her a phone number. "Call me when you're ready to make the right choice." The line went dead. Serena lowered the phone. Rachel was white-knuckling the steering wheel. "Don't even consider it. She's offering immunity. She's offering lies wrapped in bureaucracy. Federal witnesses die all the time. Accidents, suicides, mysterious disappearances." Rachel's voice shook. "I've done the research. Witness protection fails 20% of the time. 20% chance you and Lily end up dead anyway." "And what's our chance if we run?" Rachel didn't answer, because they both knew the truth. Running meant surviving temporarily, not permanently. They reached the Newark Safe House at 4 in the morning, a small apartment in a building that looked abandoned but wasn't quite. Rachel had rented it under a fake name 2 years earlier, cash only. No paper trail. Inside it was sparse, mattress on the floor, table with 2 chairs, duffel bags stacked in the closet containing cash, passports, weapons. Everything needed to disappear. Rachel pulled out 2 fake passports and handed one to Serena. Sarah Mitchell, born in Ohio, 32 years old, librarian, completely unremarkable. Serena stared at the document. The photo was hers. Rachel must have pulled it from social media, but the name was foreign. The life was foreign. "What about Lily?" "There's a 3rd passport for her. Different name. We pick her up tomorrow night and we're on a plane to Montreal by dawn." And then what? Then we rebuild. New city, new names, new lives. Rachel's voice was hollow. It's not justice, but it's survival. Serena set the passport down. I can't do this. You don't have a choice. I spent 2 months loving a man who was using me. I stood on a stage and destroyed his empire because I thought I was fighting for justice. I've been kidnapped, threatened, locked in cells, and told repeatedly that survival means becoming invisible. Serena's voice gained strength. I'm done being invisible. So what are you going to do? Call the FBI? Trust that they'll protect you? I'm going to tell the truth. Publicly. Completely. Every detail, every crime, every name. Serena met Rachel's eyes. I'm going to make so much noise that silencing me becomes impossible. Rachel stared at her. That's suicide. Maybe, but it's also the only way any of this means anything. Serena picked up her phone. You spent 3 years running. Has it made you safer? Rachel's expression crumpled. No. Then help me stop running. Help me fight back the right way. There is no right way. There's a way that doesn't involve hiding forever. Serena pulled up Morrison's number. I'm calling the FBI. I'm giving them everything. And I'm making sure that if something happens to me, the entire world knows exactly who's responsible. She dialed before Rachel could stop her. Morrison answered on the first ring. I'm in, Serena said, but I have conditions. The FBI safe house was nicer than the Newark apartment, but felt just as temporary. Morrison sat across from Serena at a conference table covered with legal documents, recording equipment, and photographs of Lucian Vittorio, Isabella, and dozens of other people whose faces Serena didn't recognize. Start from the beginning, Morrison said. The night you met Lucian Moretti. Serena told her everything, every detail, every lie, every moment of manipulation. Morrison recorded it all, asking clarifying questions, cross-referencing details against existing evidence. By hour 3, Serena's voice was hoarse. By hour 5, she was running on coffee and rage. By hour 7, Morrison leaned back and exhaled slowly. This is enough, more than enough. We can build RICO charges against Vittorio, federal fraud charges against Lucian, conspiracy charges against everyone involved. When? Indictments in 72 hours, arrests immediately after. Morrison's expression was grim. But you understand what this means. You'll testify, publicly. Your face will be everywhere. You'll never be anonymous again. Good. Serena's voice was steady. Let them see me. Let everyone know exactly what these men did. They'll come after you. Let them try. I'll be ready. Morrison studied her face. Then she nodded slowly. Okay, but we do this my way. Full protection. No contact with anyone outside this investigation until the trials are over. I need to see my sister. We'll arrange it, supervised, once she's in protective custody. And Rachel Torres? Morrison's expression darkened. Rachel Torres is complicated. She's gathered evidence illegally, hacked servers, operated outside the law for years. She's a witness and a potential defendant. She's a victim who did what she had to do to survive, and I'll argue that to the prosecutors. But I can't make promises. Morrison stood. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start building the case that destroys them all. 3 months later, Serena stood outside the federal courthouse in Manhattan while cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions. She'd just finished 4 days of testimony. 4 days of facing Lucian across a courtroom while he smiled his perfect smile and pretended to be the victim. 4 days of watching Vittorio sit stone-faced beside his lawyers, never once looking at Isabella in the gallery. 4 days of telling the truth in excruciating detail while defense attorneys tried to shred her credibility. But the evidence was overwhelming. Rachel's documentation, FBI surveillance, financial records, testimony from 3 other victims who'd finally come forward. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Then they returned with a verdict. Guilty. On all counts. Lucian Moretti received 45 years for fraud, racketeering, conspiracy, and accessory to murder. Vittorio De Luca received 30 years for conspiracy, witness intimidation, and RICO violations. 8 other associates received sentences ranging from 5 to 20 years. Isabella testified against her father in exchange for immunity. She walked out of the courthouse a free woman, broken,
but free. Serena watched the news coverage from the FBI safe house where she'd lived for 3 months, Lily beside her on the couch. "It's over," Lily whispered.
Not over. Just finished. Serena squeezed her sister's hand. There's a difference. The next morning, Morrison drove them to the airport. Witness protection is still available if you change your mind, Morrison said. We're not hiding anymore. Serena looked out the window at the city passing by. We're going home. The house, the bank dropped the foreclosure. Lucien's seized assets covered the mortgage. It's ours again. Morrison pulled up to the departure terminal. You did something remarkable, Serena. Most people would have stayed silent. Most people don't have much left to lose. Serena opened the car door. But I learned something. The moment you decide your voice matters more than your safety, you become very dangerous. She and Lily walked into the airport carrying everything they owned in 2 small bags. The flight home took 3 hours. When they pulled up to their father's house, their house, the porch light was on. Exactly how they'd left it. Serena unlocked the door. The house smelled like dust and old memories, but it was theirs. Completely. Finally. Lily immediately went upstairs to her room. Serena stood in the living room looking at family photographs on the mantel, her father smiling, young and healthy and full of hope. She touched the frame gently. I saved it, Dad. The house. The only thing you left us. The silence felt less heavy than it used to, less suffocating. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. You did good. Stay strong. R. Rachel. Serena smiled faintly. The FBI had cut Rachel a deal. Immunity in exchange for testimony and agreeing to stop her vigilante investigations. She disappeared the moment the trial ended, probably back to hunting the next Lucian Moretti. Some people couldn't stop fighting. Serena understood that now. 6 months after the trial, Serena stood on stage at a small theater in Philadelphia. Not the Grand Bellagio. Nothing that grand. Just an intimate venue where 200 people had paid to hear her sing, but the room was full. Standing room only. Lily sat front row, already crying before the first note. The booking agent who'd reached out after the trial sat 3 rows back, already planning the next venue, the next city, the next opportunity. Because Serena's story had spread. Not just the scandal, not just the trial, but the survival. The courage to speak when silence would have been safer. The refusal to disappear even when disappearing seemed inevitable. People recognized something in that story. Something raw, true, human. Serena adjusted the microphone and looked out at the faces watching her. I used to think my voice was only meant for music, she said quietly. That singing was my purpose, my calling, the only thing I was good at. The audience listened in absolute silence. Then I learned something. My voice was meant for whatever I decided it was meant for. Music, truth, resistance, war. She paused. Tonight, I'm singing. But I'm also remembering, and I'm honoring every person who spoke up even when speaking up cost them everything. The lights dimmed slightly. Serena closed her eyes. And she sang. Not the polished performances from hotel lounges and corporate events. Something rawer, deeper. A song about survival and loss and the terrible beauty of refusing to break. The room was silent except for her voice. When she finished, the applause started softly. Then it grew. Louder, thunderous, people standing, shouting, crying. Serena opened her eyes and saw Lily in the front row, tears streaming down her face, clapping so hard her hands must have hurt. And for the first time since her father died, Serena felt something close to peace, not happiness. Peace was different. Peace was knowing you'd survived the worst and chosen to keep living anyway. Chosen to keep fighting, chosen to keep speaking even when silence felt safer. After the show, a young woman approached Serena near the backstage door, early 20s, nervous hands, familiar haunted look in her eyes. Miss Vale, I'm sorry to bother you. You're not bothering me. I just wanted to say thank you for speaking up, for testifying. The woman's voice shook. 2 years ago, a man I was dating stole $30,000 from me. I was too scared to report it, too ashamed. But after I saw you at the trial, I finally went to the police. They arrested him last week. Serena's throat tightened. What's your name? Amanda. Amanda, you didn't need me to be brave. You already had that inside you. I just reminded you it was there. Amanda smiled through tears. Still, thank you. She left. And Serena stood in the empty hallway, finally understanding why her father loved music so much. It wasn't about the notes. It was about the space between them, the silence where people found their own meaning, their own strength, their own voice. Updated. That night, Serena sat on the porch of her father's house with a cup of tea and a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. The neighborhood was quiet, safe, ordinary. Lily was inside doing homework, complaining about calculus, planning college visits. Normal teenage problems, beautiful, normal, safe teenage problems. Serena's phone buzzed. Another message from Morrison. New case, similar pattern. Woman defrauded by someone using Lucian's methods. Might need your help identifying connections. Serena stared at the message for a long time. She could say no, could close that chapter, could focus on rebuilding her life, her career, her sense of safety. Or she could keep fighting, keep helping, keep being the voice for people who weren't ready to use their own yet. She typed back, send me the details. Because some battles didn't end with verdicts. They ended with choices. Daily choices to keep showing up, keep speaking up, keep refusing to let evil operate in silence. Serena took a sip of tea and looked up at the stars. Her father used to say that every star was a story someone told loudly enough to be remembered forever. She'd told her story, loudly, painfully, truthfully. And somewhere out in the world, someone was hearing it and finding their own courage. That was enough. That was everything. Serena smiled softly into the darkness. Then she went inside to check on her sister, lock the doors, and prepare for whatever came next. Because the most dangerous person in any empire isn't the one who builds it. It's the one who survives its collapse and chooses to keep standing anyway.